Good morning, students. Today we are going to revise our lesson, that is the later Vedic civilization. Now, the later Vedas, in the later Vedas, we have already studied that the period from 1000 BC to 500 BC, during which Indo-Aryans settled in Gangetic Valley, was known as the later Vedic period. Underline it. This is the definition of later Vedic period. How you understand that what was later Vedic period and from which date to which date it was there. So from 1000 BC to 500 BC, the later Vedic period consists of. The three later Vedas were Atharva Veda, Samaveda, and Yajurveda. And the Upanishads are supposed to have been composed during this time. The two great Indian epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, were written during this period only. Epics are lengthy poems that describe the brave deeds and adventure of warriors. Historians also refer to this period as the epic age. The life of the Aryans during this age has been reconstructed on the basis of information gathered from the three later Vedas, the epics, as well as the recent archaeological evidence from the region such as Hastinapur and the upper plains. Excavations indicate the use of iron also during this period. So, what are epics? Epics are the lengthy poems that describe the brave deeds and adventures of the warriors, like Ramayana. In Rama, it was a long poem, an epic poem, which provided information about Lord Rama. Historians also refer to this period as the epic age, as epics were written here. The life of the Aryans during age has been reconstructed on the basis of information gathered from the three later Vedas. What are those? The Atharvaveda, Yajurveda, Samavedas. So, evidences from the regions such as Hastinapur and the upper plains excavations indicate use of iron during this period. When the use of iron had also started during this period. Political organization during later Vedic period. Small tribal organization expanded and developed into large kingdoms. Now, large kingdoms started. Some kingdoms established by Indo-Aryans were Kuru, Kosala, Magadha, Kashi. The kings became powerful and kingship became hereditary. The Sabha and Samiti lost much of their control over the king. As the kingdom increased in size, the administration became more complex. The king was assisted by many officials who were put in charge of different departments. When a king ascended the throne, the Purohita performed the Rajasuya Yajna to confer supreme power on him. The king was elevated to the position of God's representative on earth. The Ashwamedha Yajna, that is horse sacrifice, was performed to establish his undisputed authority over the territory through which the horse moved unchallenged. So, what was Ashwamedha Yajna? Ashwamedha Yajna was performed by the powerful kings. After the Yajna, the horse was decorated with the king's emblem and set free to roam at will. The regions through which the horse passed came under the rule of the king, who had performed the Ashwamedha Yajna. If the horse was stopped by any other king, a war followed and the victorious king annexed the defeated king's territory. This was the system under Ashwamedha Yajna. Now, classification of society. So, in Ashwamedha Yajna, we all have discussed in life class also Ashwamedha Yajna's procedure. It was very interesting, the discussion. So, classification of society. Now, classification of society became very rigid and hereditary also. Rigid means very strict. That means it was not confirmed by any occupation. It was confirmed by the birth. A person born in the Brahman family, till his lifetime he will be a Brahman. No change in the caste will be there now. So Brahmanas, Kshatriyas formed the ruling class, and freshers, artisans, traders and farmers were there. Shudras were uneducated workers who served the other three classes. Family. The joint family system was further strengthened. The birth of a son was welcome, the position of women declined. They were now considered inferior to men. Their highest duty was to serve their husbands and family. What were the four ashramas in later Vedic period? Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. This also we have discussed so nicely in life class. Lot of questions were also asked over it. So Brahmacharya was the first stage of life, during which a person stayed with his guru in the Gurukul and received education. Grihastha was the second stage in a person's life, during which he got married and led a family life as a householder. Vanaprastha was the stage when he gave up all the worldly ties. Sannyasa was the last stage of life. He renounced all the worldly ties. Now, what was the Gurukul system of education? When a boy was 7 years old, he was sent to a Gurukul, that is the house of the teacher or Guru. He stayed there till he was 25 years old. Gurukuls and were usually situated deep in the forest. The teacher treated his students like his children, and children regarded the teacher as the spiritual father. The students led simple and highly disciplined life. They helped their guru in many ways. The students cleaned the house, drew water from the field. They had to memorize lessons which were taught orally. After completing the education, the students paid Guru Dakshina or fees according to their means. And early Vedic period, they were highly educated in, like Maitri and Gargi were the women who were highly educated, who used to do the writing works. Religion. The god of the early Vedic period lost all the importance. Now Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva became the most important god. The mode of worship became complex. Elaborate ritual sacrifices. Brahmana's position became important during this period. The two epics. So, the two great epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana, were composed during this later Vedic period. The two ancient epics contain of central ideas of Hinduism. They are valuable sources of information about the rituals, practices and values of epic age. Mahabharata, originally composed by Rishi Vyasa, is a story of conflict between Pandavas and Kauravas. Next, the Ramayana is an epic poem composed by Rishi Valmiki. It is the story of the life of the great deeds of Rama and the son of the king Dasharatha. Hinduism. The word Hindu comes from the word Sindhu, the Sanskrit term for the river Indus. The roots of Hinduism can be traced to the Indus Valley culture. Hinduism was not founded by any spiritual leader. It is a philosophy and a way of life evolved over hundreds of years. The mixing of social and religious beliefs of the Indus Valley people and the Aryan settlers led to evolution of Hinduism. The essence of Hinduism is the belief in an omnipotent and omnipresent single force or energy, the source of all creation. This creator of the universe is God. This God is known by different names and different forms, depending on which aspect of his force is being worshipped. God is the creator, the preserver and destroyer of this universe. There are three main principles on which Hindu philosophy is based off: dharma and karma and transmigration of the soul. So, what is dharma? Dharma means every person has a moral duty to do what is right and lead a pious life, and karma means the people must face the consequence of their actions, as they sow, so shall they reap. And transmigration of soul means that the soul is immortal and it never dies. When people die, only their bodies die and their soul live on, migrate into new bodies and are reborn. The essence of Hinduism is contained in the Upanishads, which are the fountainhead or original source of Hindu philosophy. The economic life. The Aryans had a settled life. Now, agriculture was their main occupation. The occupation of the people basically remained the same, but the use of iron and improved farming implements brought about increased prosperity. The people who lived during this period used painted grey vessels, which have been found at many sites in northern India. So this period saw the growth of towns and cities as well as development of trade by barter system. The impact of Aryan culture. Aryan civilization is the cradle of Indian culture. The Hinduism of today is based on the philosophy of Vedas and Upanishads. The Sanskrit language and Vedic literature act as unifying force that binds the vast majority of Indians into one nation. So there is story of Ramayana and the story of Mahabharata. As we all know, we have already read the importance of these epic poems. Mahabharata story, you know, the kingdom of Hastinapur was ruled by the king named Pandu, and he had the five sons Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. They were known. So, they were known as the Pandavas. When Pandu died, his visually impaired brother Dhritarashtra became the king. He had 100 sons and they were called the Kauravas. Dhritarashtra divided the kingdom between Kauravas and the Pandavas, giving Hastinapur to his sons and the Khandava forest to his nephews. So this was very bad. Now Pandavas built their capital at Indraprastha in the present day and made the kingdom of Indraprastha large and powerful. The Pandavas were married to Draupadi, the daughter of the king of Panchala. And Duryodhana, the eldest of the Kauravas, was jealous of the Pandavas and wanted to destroy them. He invited them to a game of dice. The condition was that whoever lost the game would go into exile for 13 years. During the game, the Kauravas tricked Pandavas and they lost everything to the Kauravas. Their kingdom, their wealth, even their wife Draupadi. They also had to go into exile for 13 years. On this return from exile, they demanded their kingdom back, but Kauravas refused. This led to a fierce 18-day battle in the plain of Kurukshetra. The Kauravas were defeated and killed, and Yudhishthira became the king of Hastinapur. Next, the story of Ramayana. Dasratha, the king of Ayodhya, and his three queens. Rama was born to Kaushala, Bharata to Kekai, and Lakshmana and Shatrughan to Sumitra. Rama was married to Sita, the daughter of the king Janaka of Videha. When Dasratha grew old, he chose Rama, the eldest son, as the heir. Kekai was not happy with it. To keep a promise that he had once made to Kekai, Dasratha had to send Rama into exile for 14 years. Now Rama, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, left Ayodhya. They settled down in the Panchavati forest. Meanwhile, King Dasharatha died of the grief and Bharata refused to become the king. One day when Rama and Lakshmana had gone out in search of food, Ravana, the king of Lanka, kidnapped Sita and carried her away to his kingdom. Rama and Lakshmana took the help of King Sugriva and the commander of his army, Hanumana. They crossed over to Lanka, defeated Ravana in a fierce battle and rescued Sita. At the end of 14 years' exile, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana returned to Ayodhya and the people of Ayodhya celebrated the return of the rightful heir to the throne by lightning, earthen lamps, and Rama was crowned the king. He established an ideal state called Rama Rajya based on equality and justice, and there were prosperity and happiness in his state. So in this way, we end our lesson, and I hope so you all have revised properly. Today I am giving you all the back exercise question answers. I am also giving you the inside questions for revision work, and a link for the worksheet I am also giving you. So solve it and revise it and study properly. Okay, thank you students.